There's this weird mismatch in EMS that we just seem to accept. We spend a lot of time talking about the education. We talk about those certifications we get, the protocols, the conferences we go to, the CEs we need, all of that. But the moment where a new medic or EMT actually enters the job, where they're learning how this work is actually really done, how the culture works, how the standards are set, how feedback gets given, that part is often way less intentional than it should be. And that time period matters more than anything else. Because whoever trains you early doesn't just teach you skills, they teach you what good looks like. They teach you what gets tolerated. They teach you whether mistakes are used to grow or used to shame. They teach you what the culture is, whether anybody says that out loud or not. Today's guest is Ben Tacy. Ben gave a talk at FASTCAN on field training, mentorship, and evaluation. And it was one of the talks I really enjoyed at the conference because it wasn't abstract, but it was practical and it was thoughtful. And it was really about something bigger than training officers or checklists. Last year was the inaugural FASTCAN in Calgary, and it was absolutely fabulous. And I can't wait for the next one. But many of you are no strangers to the FAST conference here in the States. And FAST 26 is in Austin this year at the end of May. It's going to be co-located with EMS World so you can have easy access to both awesome conferences at once. Will and I will be at FAST again this year, recording some more great content from that conference. So if you make it out, make sure you drop by our recording booth and say hi. Today's episode is about how we bring people into this profession well. Have you ever wondered where the field training model came from? In this conversation, we discuss why we use the language of officer instead of mentor. How do you select the right people to train new clinicians? Why workplace culture gets passed through your trainers, and how to give hard feedback without crushing somebody. There's also a bigger leadership lesson here. If you care about standards, if you care about culture, if you care about the quality of your department, if you care about building confident clinicians instead of just testing people, then you should care a lot about field training. Because people don't just rise into your organization. They get shaped by it. This is important stuff. In fact, this is exactly why we built the Paramedic Confidence Builder Fellowship, to fill this gap of intentional training and development for whoever is looking for it. If you haven't heard about our fellowship yet, head over to our website, emspodcast.com, to learn more, and we even offer a free coaching call with us. All right, let's get into today's episode recorded on site at FASTCAN.
Hear you on 8. You on 8. Okay, you're clear. Stand by for your base.
Ben, thanks so much for coming on the Loud and Clear podcast right after your talk here at FASTCAN. I'm Ross Orpit, and thanks so much for the great talk you just gave. First, I want to start out with the history of the field training officer. Tell me a little bit about that.
The field training officer is actually a program that derived from law enforcement. So it's all based around what they call the San Jose model, which came out in around 1969, San Jose, California. You can even look up, just do Google search the San Jose model. Even the San Jose Police Department publicly boasts why they came up with the San Jose model, that they had an officer who was very young, who had kind of a track record of not being an ideal law enforcement officer. But there really wasn't any evaluation process, pretty much just subjective things. And early in his career, high speed, on duty, non-emergency, ran red light, killed somebody. And then that's where the San Jose model was born. They realized that we have a major deficit in training and evaluation.
And from that, how did that kind of shape what we know as the field training officer?
It really just continued throughout all the 1900s until it pretty much hit every law enforcement agency nearly. And then in the early 2000s, UNSA, National EMS Management Association, built out the field training and evaluation program that was built around the San Jose model of like creating a system of how to truly evaluate people, to create matrices, and basically having lines in some way to formally evaluate people to meet the standards that the agency wants.
When you think about a field training officer, what does that mean to you? What is that definition for you?
First, I mean, that was kind of a big thing in my speech today, was that I'm not a fan of the phrase field training officer as it would apply to emergency services, because it's a completely different aspect. Everybody in law enforcement is an officer. Not everybody in fire or EMS is an officer. Plus, kind of think about what officer means, and we generally relate that to somebody who's a supervisor, somebody who has enforcement power, but that's not what we need. So I like to kind of relate the old vernacular of field training officer to call that like a field training mentor.
Why are you a trainer? What does that mean to you? And why do you do that job? What's the meaning you find in that job?
I wish I could say there was like this huge pivotal moment of everything that sent me on this track, but it's just, within my career, it's just one thing that kind of went that way, that I've just really enjoyed the educational aspect of it. And I mean, and mentors are educators. So if we're doing field training, we're educating, and I've just been involved in education. And so that kind of umbrella of education just got bigger and bigger and bigger.
When it comes to field training, you mentioned in your talk that why you do it matters more than how you do it.
Yes. Yeah. You have to be passionate, right? So, I mean, I think everybody kind of tests it in emergency services that we're not doing it for the money. Like, we do it for, an internal reason, right? So I think you need to have that too, because it takes a unique person to really want to pay it forward, because it is a lot of work. It's not just running the calls, doing the stuff, the station chores and this and that. It's going above and beyond. So I don't know. It's just that mission, that little fire you have inside that you genuinely enjoy seeing people grow and blossom into being bigger.
When you talk about the phrase, they don't know what they don't know, how does it apply to your trainee and how you approach them?
Well, we can't assume anything, right? So I think that everybody knows what assuming does to something, but we don't know what they don't know. So let's tell them those things. We can't assume that, hey, this is a mundane thing. I'm sure they know this. I'm sure they know this. Like, fill them with as much information as you can. Share everything. Give them all the advice that you have, all the knowledge you have. Pay that forward. Because then it's just a compounding effect after that, where they become a mentor. And everything you've taught them, they go and share on. And maybe it's, after a couple of generations, that maybe there was something that got lost in the sauce that they picked up on that made a huge pivotal moment in their career, that, like, hey, without that little nugget of knowledge that I got, that mentor gave me, that I thought was so silly, 15 years in my career, that finally paid off. It just stuck there. So just tell them everything.
I love this idea that your trainer is your mentor or your guide, guiding you through this process of gaining experience, getting to where you need to be. How do you effectively approach that in your own career?
I think one is being selective of who you put into that position, right? Because there is a lot of responsibility goes into mentoring. So you can't just let everybody do it, because not everybody has that same desire and passion to do it. And that's fine. Not everybody has to, but be selective in who gets into there, who is going to be able to fill that role of the mentor, right? Like, who meets the ideals of what you want your agency or your department to be. Like, who meets those ideals? Who is really vested in the mission of the department or the agency, and let those people be the mentors, just keep driving forward.
Yeah, because those individuals are really setting the tone for your culture, right? They're passing that culture on to 100%. The new employees.
Yeah, and I've talked, culture is everything, right? So we inevitably have a job that we see bad stuff, we run bad calls, and those things are stressful. But what we need is like that peer support in between. So we don't want to add unnecessary stressors. So having a bad workplace culture, or having to work with people who just can't pick up the slack and aren't meeting the minimum, just adds more strain and stressors that are unnecessary to our daily lives and to our job anyways.
Yeah. Tell me about, when you're field training, compassion, relevance, experience, engagement, what those words mean to you when you're training.
I've seen too far in the past where we had these mentors or field training officers, whatever language there, but all they would do is let people go and shadow them and just like, hey, watch what I do, kid, and just emulate me. But that's not everybody's the same. So providing them with relevant knowledge and information, getting them to this relevant experiences, let them do things, right? Don't let them just observe, let them be engaged, be part of it. Teach them compassion, like teach them such a basic things like hold the patient's hand, put your arm on their shoulder, like advocate for them, just have a good heart.
Yeah. Let them kind of make those mistakes in that safety net, it's okay, protected environment.
Oh, 100%. And that all ties into that culture too, to know like, hey, it's okay. You make mistakes, but those are opportunities for education, for opportunities to grow and to learn.
Yeah. Almost celebrate those mistakes, right?
Yeah.
Like you just learned something. You just grew. You just got better today.
Right. To an extent, right? Like
Yeah.
there's some mistakes we don't want to celebrate. Like, hey, like made a reference, hey, you started the IV upside down. We don't really want to celebrate those, right? But like, hey, you did this, you learned from it. Hey, look where you're at now. So, we praise in public. Hey, you did a great job. Remember, 6 months ago when you had a hard time getting that tube? Well, look, you just did it flawlessly this time. Your hard work paid off. High five.
Yeah. That gets to the setting of the feedback. What setting you're in or where you give the feedback matter?
Right. I mean, everybody has, their own level of pride, right? So the last thing we want is to be already at a level being nervous that we're being monitored, we're being evaluated, and now we're being scrutinized. Like we're out here in shackles on the whipping post that everybody's out here just seeing us get a rating. Nobody wants to be in that experience. So if you're being critiqued in confidence, that builds a lot of more comfort with that mentor, right? And then that also helps the mentoring aspect. Like people aren't so scared and timid of a mentoring process if they know like, hey, yeah, I got critiqued, I didn't do a good job, but me and the mentor are the only ones that know that. But hey, when I do a good job, everybody's finding out about it. And it really boosts that confidence. Like, hey, I really enjoyed my mentoring process because I wasn't scrutinized, I wasn't hung out to dry, I wasn't ostracized amongst my people. That I was critiqued, I was improved, and hey, a lot of people are out here supporting me. Like now you got a big group of cheerleaders.
Yeah, it's almost this sense that that mentor has your back.
Yeah,
right?
100%.
Like they're going to hold you to a high standard and they're going to let you know it. They're not going to let you fly under the radar. But at the same time, they got your back to make sure that you're succeeding in public.
Oh, 100%. And it all ties into that culture thing, right? So if you create a great mentoring program and then that culture adopts it and everybody likes it, then all it does is continue to grow and grow and grow and improve, that you're just not fighting an uphill battle. Like nobody wants to do it. That it's just such a pain. Like if you can try to make it an enjoyable experience, it can be painstaking, but make it as enjoyable and progressive as you can. That's only going to help out the culture, the agency, the growth, reducing liabilities. Like it's just, it's exponential what that will do to an agent.
What's your technique for giving hard feedback?
I really like the sandwich method, right? Like, you're like, hey, here's some good stuff you did on that call, but listen, like, I'm gonna be blunt. Sometimes you just have to be blunt. And a lot of times if you start with, hey, I'm gonna be blunt, they kind of know what's coming, right? So just provide direct and honest feedback, right? Because if you build that rapport with people, then eventually you'll have those people. I've had a lot of great mentors in my life, a lot of people look up to, and they're not afraid to come to me and be blunt because, all right, yeah, I appreciate that. It's somebody I respect. So it's easy to take that criticism from somebody you respect and that generally that they're just trying to help you. They're not out scrutinizing you, that they want you to be better. Right. So I kind of like just that sandwich method. I'll go give them a little compliment, nothing fake or phony, like really a genuine compliment of what just went well. Like, hey, we're probably going to need to practice this. Like, how do you think it went? Do you think that was good? Kind of let them ask a lot of questions and let them kind of provide their own feedback. And then just show them I'll be there to help them. Kind of give them a plan and say, hey, whatever the item was that we need to improve on, here's what we're going to do to work on to improve.
A phrase that I love that's backed by research is when I'm giving hard feedback, I say something to the effect of, I'm giving you this feedback because I have high expectations for you. And I know that you can live up to them. Setting this stage of, I'm giving you this feedback because I believe in you, because I know that you can get better, that you can excel at this job, followed by the hard feedback, tends to allow them to receive that with a more of a growth mindset. Oh, how do I get better at this?
Yeah. And I think that's something that, early on in the mentoring phase, like right off the bat, to let them know there is a standard that must be met, that there is a bar, that it's not expected that they're able to reach that bar, that even if they jump, they can't touch it yet, but that's the goal line, right? That's where we're going to get you. You may not be there yet, but we will, because we have a high standard. And I think, tying into everything, that just helps out personal and professional growth to know that there are high standards set. And then as everything grows and continues, everybody's at that bar, maybe just bring that bar up one more notch.
As you were preparing for this talk and putting everything together, what's one thing that you learned or changed the way you approach things and think about things in your own career?
Some of the feedback models, right? Like the Pendleton model is one that kind of resonate with me, of just, like what went well, what can we improve on, how are we going to do it? And then like kind of creating a game plan. So that was a good model. The sandwich model was really the only thing that I was familiar with. Learning that, kind of the intricacies of affirming what went on with the field training officers program. And I don't know, and I think a lot of it was like self-reflection too, right? Of like, I don't want to get up here and, call it kettle black and me to go up and, preach my piece and it not be something that I truly follow, right? Because there are some mentoring concepts and different things that I have read about. Like, oh, that just seems a little bit too phony, and that's not me, right? But a lot of internal reflection, like, am I really doing this? How could I do better on this? And even like read a couple books leading up to this to Simon Sinek, begin with why or start with why. I read that and like went back and referenced some old books that I'd read just on like leadership, developing community and growth.
Yeah, I loved the models that you talked about. They focused on, here's the feedback. Now let's develop an action plan for it. Whether it's the Pendleton, the Boost, or there's a SMART model as well. I think that's what's really helpful about those models. Well, Ben, thank you so much for sitting down and giving a great talk. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Appreciate it.
What I liked about this conversation is that it pulls field training out of this obscure administrative bucket and puts it back where it belongs, at the very center of your culture. I've spent a fair amount of my career as a medical director trying to convince field trainers that I'm not here to tell them how to do their job. The quality of their department and the culture they want to work in gets developed by the choices they make as trainers, and they need to decide what they want that to be. That's really what Ben is talking about here. Not just evaluation forms, not just who signs people off, but the culture, the standards, the psychological safety and growth. What kind of people your system produces over time. A couple things from this episode that are really worth holding on to. First, your trainer is never just teaching the job. They're teaching what the job means, what matters, what gets praised, what gets ignored, what kind of teammate you're supposed to become. Second, critique lands differently when it happens inside of trust. Praise in public and correct in private. Hold the bar high, but make it obvious that the goal is their growth, not humiliation. And third, you're in a position to train someone. That's leadership, whether you asked for it or not. You are shaping more than just that one EMS clinician. You are shaping the next version of this profession. Ben, thanks again for coming on and for the work you're doing. And to everybody listening, if you train people, this episode is worth thinking hard about. And if you're being trained right now, pay attention to what's being passed to you beyond just the clinical stuff. If you want to go deeper on topics just like this one, check out our weekly newsletter, The Confidence Dispatch. And if you feel like you could use a little coaching in this area or any area of the job, Will and I are offering a one free 45-minute coaching call to anyone who is interested. Link is in the show notes and can be found on our website at emspodcast.com. Until next time, stay safe out there because what you do matters.